I'm a big Fallout fan, but so far the previews have felt like a bit of a mixed bag. I got some very positive feelings about some of it, but some quite big nitpicks about others. Let's talk. This is going to be a long one. I'm going to go through a large body of the Fallout previews that have come out today, talking about how I feel about them, where they fit in Magic, and how excited I am about them, and generally the whole feelings and sentiments towards this product and Universes Beyond expansion. It's going to be long because there's a lot of cards to cover. Some of them are going to be this slightly low resolution at the time of recording, that's when they came out. And I re-recorded this intro because I've picked up a little bit later to carry on with more that were released. And there'll probably be a second version of this video on Friday or Monday of next week as I cover the rest of the set. For those of you that don't know, the Fallout Collector boosters are supposedly going to be quite few and far between, meaning that the special cards that only come in those might be quite expensive, as well as the foils from this set, dissimilar to what we've seen with previous stuff like Doctor Who. So on that note, let's talk about the special things you can get in Collector boosters. Here we have Ravages of War, Vanderblast, and Wasteland. Now, I picked these three out because they were revealed this week and weren't part of the early reveal cycle, and they're basically things involving the Vault-Tec mascot, Vault Boy, and the sort of like retro Americana cartoon-esque sort of like visual aesthetic that comes with him and his infomercials and product placements. I think these are quite personally fucking wonderful. Like, I absolutely love Vault Boy. I've been tempted to get a Vault Boy tattoo in the past during the peak of my love of Fallout, and I still might, honestly, if they can rescue the series from the Fallout 76 oblivion hole that Bethesda are digging it into. But the interesting one about these cards I want to point out here is that, well, Vanderblast is obviously a Commander staple, but Ravages of War is very clearly a card that's not meant to be played in Commander. People are quite against the idea of playing Ravages of War in Commander. So I find it very, very funny that you're going to open the Collector Booster product for a explicitly Commander set, a set that's probably going to get some people into Magic for the very first time through the expansion and the crossover with Fallout. I almost said Warhammer then. I'm probably going to do that several times during this video where I accidentally say Warhammer. But then we've got Ravages of fucking War in the packs. People are going to open this and want to stick it in their Fallout themed deck, and then they're going to piss people off at a table, which I just think, it's not like the sky is not falling and I'm not clutching pearls. I just wanted to point out that it does feel like a mild misalignment of what the product is, where it's going, who it's aimed at, and the whole like Commander being a social format that we all agree on. That said, Ravages of War in particular, and Wasteland I'm going to talk about briefly in a second, but Ravages of War is a wonderful piece of thematic through point, right? This is like, so obviously it's the Ravages of War. Fallout takes place, if you don't know, in a post-apocalyptic environment after a nuclear war has decimated the planet. So it is the quite literal Ravages of War. And then Vault Boy or Vault-Tec Boy, not Pip Boy, I'll come to that more in a moment, but his whole thing is that he's a little bit, where am I going with this? Kitsch and a bit like 50s pop culture, because there's a retro futurism to Fallout where things were an idealistic like retro future from the 50s, American suburbia and Americana and such, and then it was thrust into this apocalyptic sort of, not grimdark, more grim derp in some ways. Anyway, so to have him then reenacting a scene from Planet of the Apes, it's cute. It's weird because I don't really recall the Vault Boy ever referencing movies that would have existed after the period in which the bombs dropped in Fallout. Because, like, you know, history was frozen, right? Pop culture and American society and culture didn't move on from that period in the 50s. All the suspended 50s. The actual dates are kind of off, but they're in a suspended animation of 50s aesthetic. So we're referencing the Charlton Heston punching the sand as we find the that we're on Earth at the end of Planet of the Apes is a little bit off, actually, at least by traditional Fallout standards. I don't know if this is more common in Fallout 4 because I never finished it, or if Fallout 76 just engages with this shit a load. Those games don't enamor me quite as much as some of the older ones. But much like Ravages of War, Wasteland fits amazingly as well. We have the Vault-Tec. I want to keep saying Vault-Tec. I mean Vault Boy. I always say Vault-Tec. We have Vault Boy here struggling in the hot, basking sun of I assume the Mojave Wasteland from New Vegas because it's a lot hot. Or maybe the California Wasteland from Fallout 1 or 2. But anyway, he's scrambling along to try and get some, basically some ancient spam that'll help him survive. It's great. The Wasteland is a prominent character in Fallout. So again, it's a great pick to be in these decks, or no, it's not even in these decks, in these packs that surround the decks. It's just funny because Wasteland is one of those cards that's a little bit in the iffy space. Ravages of War is absolutely in the bad space. Wasteland is a completely legitimate card for removing Cabal coffers and guys cradling Commander and such, but I know some people do get a little bit neg about it still. Either way, kind of funny to see it in the Fallout packs. I'll be honest, the Vanderblast confuses me a little bit. I get that you're using VATS and getting a 100% chance to shoot all the artifacts and things that are on the walls, but I don't understand if Vault Boy here is dodging the bullets or trying to intercept them. If he's trying to dodge them, why would he be dodging them? Maybe he thinks... I don't really get it quite. Maybe I'm being a dum-dum. Let's talk about power armor, the T-45 power armor. This is the power armor used by the Brotherhood of Steel and the Conclave. It's the old power armor from the American military used in the war. And power armor is great for avoiding radiation and damage and such, and it really powers you up. It's quite a late game item in earlier Fallout games. Even in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, it's a bit more sparse. Fallout 4 just kind of made it a mainstay thing. Like if you have enough power cores, you can use it for your away missions from your settlement. The funny thing I want to point out here, though, about power armor is that in the magic set, it's 2 mana, it enters the battlefield and creates 2 energy, which is one of the archetypes, one of the commander decks, which I really like. I really like the coming back to energy. This is good. And then the quick widget's +2/+3 and doesn't untap during its controls untap step, but you've got to pay energy to untap it. If you do pay the energy, you untap the quick creature and then put a choice of a menace, trample, lively counter on it to, make it a bit more imposing. It's a 3 mana equip. In pre-con battles, this equipment will be pretty decent. Outside of pre-cons and moving into pushing up your power level, upgrades and similar, I think this equipment's kind of bad. I guess the ETB, if you flicker it to make energy, makes an energy creator that can then power up a creature. But I'm not really enamored with playing it. And the really funny thing about the power armor here, and also if we go back to the Warhammer precons, the way that Magic represented Space Marines, even though I love those decks immensely, Space Marines in canon, and even on the tabletop, are relatively elite forces. And then the 40k decks, they were just 2/2s with Vigilance. But either way, the power armor is so unimpactful compared to what each of them do in their own settings. Each of them are Astartes are godlike compared to humans, for example, in Warhammer. And the power armor is meant to be one of the primo relics from the bygone age of, American ingenuity. And here it is just giving you a +3/+3, hunkering you down if you run out of energy, and on occasion giving you a keyword. It's cool. I don't hate the design. I'm just pointing out how in both of these instances, Magic has to scale down some of the more godlike or powerful things to make it fit within the gameplay confines of the game. It's a limitation of Magic, which rarely causes problems for me, but I do think it's funny. And then in the collector boosters, we get more reprints of existing Magic cards reskinned into Fallout, and I fucking love this. Do more of this, Wizards. So this is a thing where we've seen before with the Godzilla cards in Ikoria, where you had an existing Magic card and then we reskinned it and put the nickname on the top and the real name of the Magic card in the little sub box here. In this case, it's Lord of the Undead, who's a Centurion of the Marked, which is just some enemy from one of the expansions of the last expansion from Fallout New Vegas. Either way, the reskinning of existing Magic cards into the canon is a good way of not putting so many unique cards into the set. But as far as I understand, this is from the collector boosters. It's a special thing you can get only in collector boosters. It's not from the decks. So although it's tech that would avoid them printing 400, well, what is it? It's normally 60 new cards per deck. So, close to 300 to 400 new cards. This would allow them to reuse some of the existing designs and do some reprints for Magic. But Lord of the Undead being a reasonably good reprint. I was about to say, I remember when this card was $10. I just looked it up again. It's actually climbing above 15 again. So a Lord of the Dead a reprint is actually solid. It's a very popular casual commander card, and yeah, it's a great payoff for playing zombies. The problem I do have with this, though, if I'm going to get nitpicky, and I'm going to be quite nitpicky because I think my relationship with Fallout's a weird one. I'm going to come to that after this card, actually. But the ghouls aren't undead. The ghouls in Fallout are irradiated people whose physical appearance and the way that their bodies work in terms of aging and such have been changed by the radiation of the nuclear fallout from the war. They are not zombies as such. They're not brainless, although some can be feral ghouls. In the case of the Marked, if I remember correctly, they aren't feral. They are sentient and they're angry at the player character for what he's done to them by making them hyper sped up zombification. I'm using the word now. Sped up ghoulification. Either way, I don't think this quite fits, but I don't hate it. It's fine. My relationship with Fallout, just to get people on that page, I find this interesting because I think I'm an interesting person, but you might think this is fucking boring. I got into the Fallout with Fallout Tactics, which is a really fun, borderline 4X tactical shooter. So the idea is that you build, I think it was 5 characters at the beginning of the game, and then took them through missions for the Brotherhood of Steel with limited RPG elements. You still had the RPG leveling up that you had in Fallout 1 and 2, but it was on a newer engine, and the focus was on combat. And it was gory, and the aesthetic just absolutely, it struck such a chord with me. It became one of my favourite games very quickly. The funny thing about Fallout Tactics, and I'm not being a hipster here, I'm actually aware of how this works. I looked at Google user reviews, it's 89% liked, but I remember for a fact that this game was panned on release and often negatively criticized by like PC Gamer magazine and similar because it just wasn't actual Fallout. Fallout 1 and 2 were not only aesthetically super interesting and unlike anything else in that space, they were also really good, solid computer RPGs with interesting stories and characters and quests and similar, where Fallout stripped out a lot of that solid writing to make it a tactic shooter. Now, for someone first coming into Fallout, it was still wonderfully just evocative and interesting and different, like I said, to a lot of the things at the time. Like, I was playing a lot of Planescape Torment and Baldur's Gate at the time, and I loved those games, but Fallout was like, you're throwing hand grenades and blowing people's arms off, which was great for like little 10-year-old me or whatever, but also like, you're drinking irradiated water to like temporarily heal in a fight and just other weird shit like that. I thought the game was great. So then I did a bit of backtracking to Fallout 1 and 2, and I played them a bit, and I had the longest time in Fallout 1 before the... If you don't complete the game in a certain amount of hours, days in the game, you actually run out of in-game time, and your vault that you're trying to save dies of dehydration. And I just took that as my bad ending. I never really finished Fallout other than getting a terribly bad ending where everyone, depending on me, died. And Fallout 2, although often heralded as the best one, I played less than Fallout 1 for that reason. But either way, these engines were antiquated and kind of lacking a lot of the modern polish, even at the time of me playing them after Fallout Tactics. So for years, I wanted them to do a Fallout 3. I wanted them to go back and do it in the Baldur's Gate Infinity engine, for example, or later down the line, do it in the Neverwinter Nights engine, or any of those sort of things. And it never happened. There was a project that sort of reared its head on forums, like leaked images, but then it died off. And then Fallout 3 happened, and I loved it. I fucking loved it. I love open world RPGs anyway, but then getting it in the Fallout universe, finally getting my wish to go back to this thing that I was fucking enamored with, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years previously that I felt like would never come to pass, was incredible. Now, Fallout 3, I think, kind of aged worse in my mind than a lot of people are willing to admit, because Bethesda's game design was old hat by the time Fallout 3 came out. New Vegas, on the other hand, is my favourite Fallout game because it just feels interesting. The characters are interesting, the quests are interesting, there is more moral greys and ambiguities and interesting things to be done in it because it wasn't written by Bethesda, who seem to be unable to make interesting RPGs. Yes, this has become a small, minor review of Fallout games, and if you're still watching, I fucking appreciate you. Anyway, the point is, love New Vegas, love Fallout 3 at the time, have grown a little bit less keen on it over the years. Fallout 4, it scratched an itch, but it was absolutely a weak point in those 3 first-person RPG games. Fallout 4 kind of looks the part and it walks the walk a little bit, but then once you get into it, it feels again shallow. It feels like, honestly, I don't remember hardly any of the companions or characters that I introduced to or met. I don't remember the factions in that game. I remember some of the environments because the environmental design is really good, I'll give it that. But Fallout 4 was a disappointment. And then Fallout 76, hands up, I didn't play it, but the reviews and the word of mouth on launch, I just dodged it. If Fallout 4 disappointed me, I did not want that shit in my life. I didn't want to see the Fallout franchise get absolutely just rabidly shat upon by money-grabbing studio execs. I couldn't take it. So that brings us to the cards at the moment. And Fallout as a set, like Cage Baller, a 2-mana 1/1. It has indestructible, and it's your turn. And when it attacks, you and defending player each draw a card, and then put 2++1 counters on Kate if you discard the card with the highest mana value among those cards, or if they're tied. Okay, I don't remember Kate. I had to Google it. I'm going to be completely transparent about a lot of this stuff. Lo and behold, I typed the words Kate Fallout into Google, and it's Fallout 4. I don't remember her. Or at least I do now. I've seen a picture of her. That's struck my memory. But this art isn't evoking her because the art is so much more interesting than anything we actually see in Fallout 4. And I think that's the biggest problem I've got with this set, is that we've got world-renowned artists working with great art direction for a great game, and we're getting characters given life in a way that they never had, which I think is wonderful. Seeing Fallout 2 characters like sort of realised with new art is fantastic. The problem with the Fallout 4 ones is that I don't even fucking recognise them because I never remember them in the first place because they're so forgettable, because everyone looks the same in the aged Bethesda engine. Hell, Fallout 4 has much vastly improved texturing and lighting from like the old stuff, right, from Vegas and 3, but it still feels like it's just a nice lighting system on top of a fucking ancient engine. Anyway, as for the card, It's alright. Bothered Outcast, a 3-mana 3/2 and it enters the battlefield, choose one. Turn to aura or equipment card with value 3 or less when you go to the battlefield, or put a shield count on target creature. This card is gas. I want this card to go in my Abdul Adrian deck to allow it to recur me some equipment that I play in that deck when they get blown up, or just to put a shield count on things every turn as I flicker it in and out of the game. I love me some 2-mana and 3-mana creatures with ETB value that I can flicker for value. So having a Brotherhood Outcast that does that, it's pretty sweet. And here we come to another card that is going to make me talk about how Fallout's aesthetic feels more watered down and limper than it did 10, 15 or 20 years ago. Blasphemous Act is a 9-mana, 13 damage to everything. We know what Blasphemous Act is. If you don't know and you're new here, give it a read. It's a commander staple. And the funny thing is, I think we're getting it in every fucking set we ever have now. It is in the Fallout decks, it was in the Doctor Who decks, it was in the Lord of the Rings decks, and it was in the Warhammer decks. Now, I think reprinting cards to keep them cheap is a good thing, and this card is still $2 after, Lost Caverns of Ixalan Commander, it was in there too. So this card does need regular reprints to keep it down. However, seeing it in every single set makes it feel slightly less special. This is a very cool card that can, like, the flavour of it as well, the Blasphemous Act that is being talked about, can really evoke a super interesting element or part of a story or world. And in the case of Fallout, it's a big fucking statue that's been damaged by the war, and the flavor text says, everyone knew the bombs were coming, everyone but the public. Now, that is a great line of flavor text, but I don't really care that much about it in this context. I guess the Blasphemous Act there is the fact that only the rich and the powerful knew and got to go into the vaults, and the public got left to be decimated by the nuclear war. It is telling us a cool bit of world building about Fallout, but did it have to be Blasphemous Act? I guess it is blasphemous to an extent, but I think it's a stretch. And this statue, I have no idea what it was. I had to ask people on my Discord, and someone pointed out that it's in the opening cinematic for Fallout 3, and they float around a little bit in the inner like deeper parts of DC in Fallout 3. And basically, that's what I mean. A lot of things are just sort of like melting together, and I'm not remembering them such. I actually thought that maybe this statue showed up in Fallout 4, because the building to the left of it, I kind of recall being near a big statue. But anyway, love Blasphemous Act. Flavor text is great. I don't think it actually fits Fallout very well. I feel like this is just almost ticking a box where we have to have Blasphemous Act in every single commander deck. I don't think that's true. I don't think we need that in sets, especially that have almost no consideration for any form of religion. Because, well, that's not true. There's cults in Fallout. Maybe that's a moot point. Megaton's Fate. 6 mana, choose one. Disarm the bomb to destroy target artifact, create 4 treasure tokens to get rewarded for doing the quest in the Megaton questline in Fallout 3. Or detonate. Megaton Fate deals 8 damage to each creature. Each player gets 4 rad counters. Okay, so this is where there's a bomb in the center of Megaton, the town, which is named after the Megaton bomb that's stuck in it. One of the unexploded nukes from the war during Fallout 3, the first time you come across, if you follow the main story. And you can choose to disarm it and blow it up. It's one of the funny parts about Fallout 3 where people talk about the decisions you can make and how they affect the game world, and they're just such extreme nonsense. It's like, give kids candy or kick them in the dick. And in this case, it's detonate a nuclear bomb in the center of a populated area, or disarm it. There's just, where's the moral grey? Where's the ethical ambiguity? It's like nuke 'em or don't isn't that much of a profound decision. You're either playing comedy villain or savior of the wastes. Anyway, what does the card do? Well, I like the idea that you complete the quest to get some treasure, you get some portal caps for doing the thing that it's asking you to do. I think that's really neat. And you destroy the artifact or disarm it. Detonate is 8 damage to each creature. Bit weird that a nuclear fucking bomb would only do 8 damage to each creature, but to be honest, I guess it's an old bomb that's degraded over a couple hundred years, so it doesn't do the 13 damage that the Blasphemous Act does. And then the rad counters is really cool too. Now, I've already talked about this in a video, but I'll cover it in case you didn't see that video. Rad counters say at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, if you have any rad counters, mill that many cards. For each non-land card milled this way, you lose 1 life and a rad counter. So in essence, it mills you and it damages you as you become less irradiated. And the image is this, is the Pip-Boy showing off a radiation warning in the middle of the HUD. I don't think it actually shows up in the stat screen like that in Fallout, but I guess it's a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a interpretation of how radiation might be shown on the Pip-Boy. What I will say is, this art is obviously art, it's got an artist attributed to it, but it's so photoreal and digital. Maybe this is, I don't know if it's a criticism or a testament to how good this art is. It basically, at a long shot, looks like a screenshot from Fallout 4, which is fine, and then when you zoom in, it's not. Unless it's an overpaint. which I don't think it is. Either way, props to absolutely nailing the brief. The brief was look like Fallout 4. I really like this as an interesting way of representing both a mechanical part of the game's core identity of having to avoid getting radiation because it slowly fucking kills you, but also the part of the world building that everything is irradiated after the nuclear war, and it being so unique and bespoke. I just think this is a really neat and tight design. I'm hoping when I play with the precons we'll have a really impactful impact on the games we're playing. I love it. I think this is great. Inventory management. 2 mana split second, so you can't interact with the fucking thing. For each aura and equipment you control, you may attach it to a creature you control. 2 mana, move your auras and equipment around. I think this is really neat. I think this is very cool. I think it's quite, again, evocative of Fallout, because in Fallout you do a lot of inventory management. It's one of the big faults of the game in many ways. Constant danger requires constant preparedness. Because it's instant speed, you can prepare on the fly. In Fallout, you can go into your inventory and just re-equip things like armor and weapons pretty much at instant speed in most of the games. So it kind of like, almost like a nod to that in a way. I mean, I think it's about time that we can instant speed equip stuff, right? We haven't got enough versions of, I'm joking by the way, there's plenty of ways to do this. This card is sweet. It'll be cool in Voltron decks. It'd be cool to give red-white Voltron decks another toy. There's a small chance this sees some player in Legacy somewhere if someone's playing a red-white hammer variant with Colossus Hammer. I'm not saying it's certain, but it's definitely potentially possible. Then we have Strongback. So Strongback is an aura, and in the Fallout set, it looks like they're using auras to represent the perks of Fallout. So in Fallout, upon certain level ups, you get perks. My favourite parts of the game by a huge margin. All of them are normally represented by a cool little cute cartoon Vault Boy doing a thing that represents it. So carrying a big, I'll put it on screen here, a big pack of luggage, for example. I wish there were alternate arts of these with that on it. We haven't seen everything yet. That might get revealed. If they didn't do that, that's an absolute miss, because those ones would be the ones I want. But essentially, perks improve your character in some way. So in this case, you can add these perks to your creatures. I think that's a really elegant, simple, kind of obvious, but great bit of design. That perks are auras. Love it. This one is 3 mana enchant creature. Equipped creature, I can't read words today. Equipped abilities you activate that target enchant creature costs 3 less to activate. Equipped abilities you activate that target enchanted creature costs 3 less to activate. Something about that sentence absolutely throws me through a loop, but it might be because I'm sat in a room talking about cards to myself, and that does make you seem a little bit weird. In essence, it makes equipment better on the creatures with strong back, because they're carrying a lot in their inventory. Perfect. Aura spells you cast, target enchanted creature costs 3 less to cast. It makes auras cheaper. You get better perks because of your strong back. Bit weird, don't get that. Enchanted creature is +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. That makes sense. The more and more stuff you procure, the stronger you get. And the art, even though it's not the one that I wanted, which is the Vault Boy little motifs, is great. It shows a Vault Dweller or main character from Fallout 4 or Fallout 1, or I think 2, you get the Vault Dweller's gear, so you'd look like that as well. Fallout 3, you are Vault Dweller, but can't be have that super particular. Anyway, doesn't matter. That Vault Dweller has a strong back, is carrying some boots and a Fat Man nuke weapon and a robot, and I think it's great. Wonderful art, even if it's not the one that I wanted. No criticisms, can't sweet. Grim Reaper's Sprint. Again, instead of getting the Vault Boy in the Grim Reaper outfit, which I love, we instead get a depiction of a scene from, I'm going to go on a limb and say it's Fallout 3, because these like barricades look like the barricades you get on the on-ramps into DC. Anyway, it could be Fallout 4 though. It costs 3 less to cast if a creature has died this turn. Enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, untap each creature you control. If it's your main phase, then there's additional combat phase after this phase. And equipped creature is +2/+2 in haste. So in essence, it's extra combat for 2 mana. This card is actually kind of wild. A 2 mana extra combat step is insane. And if you have anything that doubles the ETB triggers of enchantments, auras, or anything like that, Elish Norn is a good example of this. Then you're going to get 2 combat steps like that. Very easy to abuse. You just got to kill something. In Fallout, the Grim Reaper's thing is like it's a bonus when you kill someone in VATS with a creature. You get to like get more points back and then shoot someone else. So you basically get rewarded for getting a lethal shot with your action points. And that's been the case since the beginning, I think. I think even the original Fallout games had that. I actually wanted to sense check myself on that to see, because I couldn't remember being in Fallout 1 or 2. Turns out it was actually on the 10th anniversary perk contest. This was one that was submitted by the community, and then it got implemented into Fallout 3 back in after that event in 2007. Super, super interesting. I feel like it's always been part of Fallout, so not everything in Fallout 3 is bad. This is great. Big Horn Rancher, 5 mana, 2/5. He's not talking about his cock. He's vigilant. He adds an amount of green mana equal to the power among creatures you control. The greatest power, should I say. And then you can sacrifice it, gain life equals to the greatest toughness among other creatures you control. He's basically someone who's ranching the big horns, irradiated goat cow things from Fallout. Yeah, fine. There's not much more to say about it, makes a shit ton of mana. Well rested here looks like a perk, but in reality it's what you get for being well rested in Fallout. You get extra XP for having slept for a long enough time in Fallout 3 and onwards. Anyway, in this case, enchant creature, and whenever this creature becomes untapped, you put 2+1/+1 counters on it, then you gain 2 life and draw a card. This split triggers only once each turn. I think this is a solid aura. It's going to draw you a card every time that you have a creature that's attached to. Great card, and it's just evoking the idea that after a night's sleep, you're ready to take on the world. And in this case, the art is actually riffing on Fallout and some of the absurdity, where you have found a bed, or in case of Fallout 4, you've deployed a bed out in the open somewhere, or you found a bed just outside of a house that's been blown up, and you sleep on it, you get well rested as raiders are just looming in the background. There's a lot of like nods and references to just how silly Fallout can be, and I'm fine with that. I think it's pretty great. Cass, Hand of Vengeance. She's one of the companions from Fallout New Vegas, although to be honest, as much as I like New Vegas, I don't really remember much about her story arcs or anything. I remember her wandering around with a cowboy hat following me around, but that's that. She's Vigilant, she's a 4/3 human ranger. When another creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return any number of aura cards that were attached to it from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to target creature. Then attach any number of equipment that were attached to it to that creature too. In essence, it's going to allow when a creature dies to put the auras and equipment on it onto something else. It gives you insurance against your creature dying while loaded up with perks and similar. This is the green, white, red dog meat deck that has this stuff in it. This whole play style of loading up auras and hoping you have a payoff like this in play doesn't interest me much. That might be the other reason why I'm just a little bit soft on the initial previews of Fallout. But this card seems a reasonable card to include in that kind of deck. Absolutely fine. Overseer of Vault 76, I believe, some Fallout 76. 3 mana, 3/3, first contact. When Overseer of Vault 76 or another creature with power 3 or less enters the battlefield under your control, put a quest counter on the Overseer. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may remove 3 quest counters from among permanents you control. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and they gain Vigilance to end a turn. So she's a payoff for quest counters not only on her, but other cards. We've already seen one earlier with quest counters. Or actually, maybe I saw quest counters in the previous season before I started recording and I'm confusing myself. I'm still more will come up later in this video. Yeah, it's a payoff for quest counters, it's fine. I do think that like this and Cass are examples of how like there's going to be a lot of legendary creatures, similar to what happened with Doctor Who. There's a lot of named characters that they want to make homage to, and these worlds have a lot of named characters. Otherwise, you just have a random man with gun called Reaper or whatever. The problem is that the legendaries then get pushed at rare and even not common and have just so much fucking text on them that it just takes a long time to pass any of these. It's good to have them in these kind of products, I guess, because you get to replay these decks quite a bit if you keep them built or modify them. I think it's better to have wordy legendaries like this in these products than it is to have them in draft environments like Murder at Carl of Mana, because opening your seal pool for the first time, you've just opened up War and Peace, and you're going to run out of time to build your deck. So there are places for this, and I think these decks are the places for it. Still, it's a lot of fucking text. Here's a lot of text, but most of it's minor text. First strike, 3/2, 4 mana, Rose Cutthroat Raider. It has raid, because it's a raider. At the end of combat, if you attack this turn, create a junk token for each opponent you attack this turn. Junk tokens have tap, sacrifice this artifact, exile top card of your library, and you may play it this turn. They have an impulsive draw attached to a rock. And whenever you sacrifice a junk, add red. I do both. Okay, interesting. I like that they've made it only junk that generates mana off of Rose Cutthroat Raider. I think that it makes it more narrow and more insular, but I think that stops it just going absolutely cracked with treasures. We've already seen this with Crime Novelist in the latest set and being one of the best uncommons we've seen in a long time. I think having this make mana off treasures would have been dumb, and also just saying non-treasure artifacts would have been dumb, because that wouldn't have made sense if there's no treasure in the set. Although there is treasure in the set, I think, and there is bottle caps. Either way, yeah, reasonable design. 4 mana is a lot for this. Oh no, actually, scrap that. If you attack this turn, it doesn't even give a shit if this attacked. That's the new way that they're making creatures more impactful the turn they come down. They don't ETB and do something, but if you get to go to combat attack with something else, it triggers. Like this and Adelaide and MOT recently. It's a new design tech that, quite frankly, it feels handholdy, but I like it. It makes the game more enjoyable. It does make some cards too good though. Like MOT. Mr. Gutsy is a 2 mana. Whenever you cast an aura or equipment spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Mr. Gutsy. And when Mr. Gutsy dies, create X junk tokens where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on it. At 2 mana for a 1/1 that does this card is actually fucking solid. It's against auras and equipment, so it's a bit more narrow than a lot of people would probably want it to be. But at that mana cost, it's a much better payoff. The 4 mana costs are fine, like Cass and stuff. but these ones are much, much stronger in the sense that you will be able to play them and recur them a lot easier. Mantle of the Ancients, there we go. I mentioned it earlier. The Fallout 2, finding the Vault Dweller's outfit from Fallout 1 and being able to use it after the Trials in the Temple. It is a 5-mana enchant creature you control. And when it enters the battlefield, turn any number of target auras or equipment cards that could be attached to enchanted creature from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to enchanted creature. Enchanted creature is +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it. So, this is nuts. It's a 5-mana, like, refurbish all the auras and equipment in the bin, but on top of all of that, it also says that it gets +1/+1 for each thing attached to it. This is going to end games, this is going to one-shot people. This card is very, very good, even at 5 mana. And I love the idea that it's like, they get the items and the perks of the previous generation by donning the suit. I'll tell you what, seeing this stuff makes me want them to go back and actually remaster Fallout 1 and 2 to have, like, a new engine. Same game, same, like, just higher res art and stuff. I don't know. That's probably a harder thing to do than I'm saying, but fuck me, I would snap their arm off for that. Vault 21 House Gambit. So the vaults are going to be sagas. The reason for them is that, so across the wastelands that you play in Fallout, there are going to be vaults, numbered vaults, and you go like breaking into them and going into them and trying to get the gear, the old tech and stuff that's inside them, right? But each one normally has some sort of quest associated with it. A quest you get outside of it, or maybe you uncover inside of it. Some of them don't have a quest at all, but have like an emergent story that you understand by going through and picking up environmental notes, logs on computers, or just like actual environmental storytelling of like things being set up in a certain way to evoke the background narrative of what happened to the people who once dwelled in this vault. The other thing on top of vaults, if you are new to Fallout, is that a lot of them were just social. I say a lot of them. The vast majority of them were social or scientific experiments by Vault-Tec. Vault-Tec being the huge corporation that sold people these vaults to hide in when the nuclear war happened. So a lot of them have weird shit going on inside them. The common thing is you'll find one where people have been cloned. That comes up in some of the cards as well. Or got mutated, or got experimented on in some way. Some of them are literal social experiments, like the changing of a leader every day or whatever. Just nonsense like that you unpack through the storytelling of the vaults. This is why Fallout is so good. The other side of vaults is that the ones that survived or got past their experiment, or were lucky enough not to be a full-on experiment, I don't know how many there are of those ones come out and bloom into their own societies, often with their own new social hierarchies and etiquette and similar. In the case of Vault 21, I don't remember this. I assume it's New Vegas because it's gambling. But House Gambit on this one says, discard a card and draw a card for the first 2 pips of the saga. On the final one, reveal up to 5 non-land cards from your hand. For each of those cards that has the same value of mana as another card revealed this way, you get a treasure token. In essence, you're playing a little bit of poker. Or I say poker, it's actually blackjack, right? 21. This is really cool. Mainly because there's a lot of gambling and Vegas iconography and theming in games in New Vegas, obviously. So having at least one card reference that is great, and having it on a saga is pretty cool tech. I don't remember if this is literally a casino vault. I'm going to Google it. Oh, fuck! Okay. Vault 21, that is shown in this image here, is the hotel and casino central to the New Vegas city that you can enter. And it was built out of the vault that was underneath the Las Vegas Strip. Yes! That makes a perfect amount of sense that this is where Mr. House is located, or at least locally to it, because he controls the Vegas Strip. Makes even more sense. It's a literal casino that was built out of one of these vaults in the Las Vegas Strip. Fuck, I forgot that was literally what it's called. I feel like a dum-dum, but I'm not going to pretend when I don't know shit. He's a 3-mana, 1/4. He's an overseer of some vault. He's a human soldier in this case. Enlist. At this creature attacks, you may tap a non-attacking creature you control without summoning sickness. When you do, add its power to this creature until end of turn. Whenever a creature you control attacks, if it enlisted a creature in this combat, the attacking creature gains double strike until end of turn. If the creature's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. I don't really know why. I'm going to check why it does this. Oh, fuck. He found the NCR. Okay. He found, like, one of the, like, paramilitary organizations that ends up being a big player in California across the Fallouts. That's why he's called the Founder. The more you know. This is McCready, the Little Lamplight Mayor. Lamplight is a cave settlement that's occupied only by children. They're 1 to 16 in Fallout 3. And McCready is basically a little hobbit person. It's just human advisor, but they have a typical Kithkin shit of whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less attacks, it gains Skulk until end of turn. Whenever a creature with power 4 or more attacks you, its controller loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Because they're all getting together to stop adults from hurting them because the raiders locally are bastards. If I remember correctly, you can't actually kill any of the children. Don't ask me how I know this, but you can't kill any of the children in Little Lamplight. Like, most of the time you can kill an NPC in Fallout, as long as they aren't a quest-giving NPC in the Bethesda ones. But they stopped you from being able to kill the children. If I remember correctly, there was a lot of mods introduced that allow you to shoot and kill the children. Why? I don't know. People are weird. Mysterious Stranger, a 4-mana flash, 3/2 when it enters the battlefield. It's a human rogue. For each graveyard with an instant or sorcery card in it, exile target instant or sorcery card from the graveyard. If 2 or more cards are exiled this way, choose one of them at random and copy it. You may cast the spell without paying its mana cost. So it's got a random flashback effect, potentially your opponent's spells for a Mysterious Stranger. I'll be honest, maybe I'm missing something, but I have no fucking idea why this does what it does. The Mysterious Stranger in Fallout. It's actually a perk in Fallout 3 onwards. I think it might be in the older games, but I know for certain it's in Fallout 3. I think it actually might be in Tactics too. But either way, when you use this perk, basically you have a small percentage chance, depending on if you've leveled the perk up and similar things, it might be based on a stat as well, your luck stat, that when you're fighting someone in VATS, you're pausing time to shoot at a certain body part or something, that a Mysterious Stranger might come to your aid. So basically a man in a fedora and a trench coat shows up and shoots them with a really fucking powerful handgun. So I guess there's a luck percentage chance that you don't exile 2 things and get a copy. I don't get it. I feel like this is just a guess based upon the art and what this does. I don't understand. Please comment section, tell me if I'm missing something here. The bobbleheads are really cool. They're all 3-mana mana rocks and they're all got serialized versions. So for example, let's look at 2 examples here. Luck bobblehead is 1 tap, roll a X 6-sided dice where X of them are bobbleheads you control. Create a tapped treasure token for each event even result. And if you roll a 6 exactly 7 times, you win the game. This one is kind of nuts and pretty funny. I genuinely think I want to make a bobblehead deck where I play all the bobbleheads. I don't know how many there are. There should be 1 for each of the skills. In Fallout, there's the skills are spelled out with the acronym special. So that's strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. Yeah, I nailed it, right? The agility one, for example, it's a mana rock that says 3 tap up to X target creatures you control. Each can haste until end of turn. That's pretty good. Can't block this turn except by creatures with haste. Where X is the number of bobbleheads. That's just good on its own. Just like 3 mana, a thing gains haste and can't be blocked unless the other creature has haste on its own, because you only get 1 if you got 1 bobblehead, is good. Charisma bobblehead makes a 1/1 soldier where X is the number of, or X 1/1 soldiers where X is the number of bobbleheads you control. Not as good as the haste one, not as good as the luck one, but still reasonable. Endurance is X creatures +1/+0 and they gain indestructible until end of turn. Again, very solid. All the bobbleheads just seem really good, and the fact that they tap for mana of any color, not just colorless, I think these might be some of the best 3-mana mana rocks we've ever seen. They are so good. Agent Frank Horrigan, who is the end boss from Fallout 2, and I know that because I googled it. I've seen so many people like get excited about this guy getting a card and tweeting about it. And to be honest, I only believe like 90. I don't believe 90% of them. I believe 10% of the people tweeting something. Oh, finally, yeah, I love Frank Horrigan. I'm like, sure. 10% of the people saying that know who the fuck this is or played Fallout 2. The other 90% are just, I genuinely think people are making it up. I don't want to see being too accusatory, but how many fucking people genuinely completed Fallout 2 of like our age group, right? Or younger. Seeing younger people say, I'm just like, I just don't believe you, fam. Anyway, 7 mana, 8/6 trample, has indestructible as long as it attacks this turn, and when it enters the battlefield or attacks, proliferate twice. It is a 7 mana fatty. It's not got much protection to itself outside of your turn, so it will die to wraths. ETBing and attacking to proliferate is pretty good. Upping rad counters on people, for example, and growing your planeswalkers. I think this is okay. I think the 7 mana really holds it back. Animal Friend, 2 mana, enchant the creature, and basically you get a 1/1 green squirrel creature token whenever you attack, and it puts a +1/+1 counter on that token for each aura and equipment attached to this creature other than Animal Friend. So you get an Animal Friend who levels up with you, which is, again, a Fallout perk. Pretty cool. Path of Ancestry, a card that I really rate in Commander anyway and think more people should play, because people tell me it's not good because it enters the battle with taps, and I'm like, shut the fuck up, this is great. Anyway, it's showing you the room in which you grew up in Fallout 3, your little baby's room. That intro, that is cool the first time, and then you get fucking annoyed if you ever want to replay Fallout 3, because the intro segment takes too long. Either way, cool art. And then we get a cycle that was never finished, getting finished for the first time in this set. They are the old filter lands from... not Onslaught. Oh, fuck, I'm going to have to look this up. It's an old set no one cares about. Was it Weatherlight? Sunscorched Divide is a land where you tap a mana, put it into it, and you get a red and a white. And there's one for some of the other colours too. The reason I'm putting Sunscorched Divide on screen and focus on this one is that there's a small chance to see some legacy play because it can filter ancient 2 mana into red or white, which means you can cast, for example, a Blood Moon or similar, or a red-white pipped creature in your initiative deck or your chalice deck or similar. Terramorphic Expanse shows off some sort of slum, and then it says like that they built a new city out of the old bits. Cool. Yeah, bit of world building. I don't know. The art just doesn't show anything I remember or care about, so I'm a bit like, how can I enjoy something if it's not a direct reference all the time? Ian is the first companion you get in Fallout 1, I want to say, in like the first town, Shady Shady, not Shady Spire. That's Fallout. Oh, I don't want to Google it. I Googled it. It's Shady Sands. Either way, like, it's cool to see these old CRPG characters like the ones from Baldur's Gate and shit come alive on Magic cards in a sense. Like an art for a character you haven't seen in years. Although, again, maybe Fallout Companion is just famously forgettable because I remember nothing about this guy. And I definitely played like fucking 30 or 40 hours of Fallout 1. Only, I want to say, 12 years ago. 12 years ago is a long time. Crazy. I'm getting old. Whenever Ian the Vex attacks, if it's modified, you may have it deal damage equal to its power to you and any target. Super interesting. Basically, you stick auras and equipment on it and it damages you and a target, like a creature. If you give it lifelink, you will gain life damage just to the creature and yourself. So basically, stick lifelink on Ian and profit. That is the way you get away with Ian's recklessness. So Veronica Dissident Scribe, I don't recognize her until I googled it. Then I saw an image of her in the Bethesda game and I was like, oh shit, not Bethesda game, in the Obsidian game, New Vegas. I do know who this is. This art just doesn't look like her, right? Other than the name that she's got a punchy fist thing, I think that's her default weapon. I didn't remember her. Is this my memory? Am I getting old? Are the art's just not similar enough? Like, her hoodie she's wearing here, plus the glove, and in the bar, it all just evokes a feeling of like barroom brawling, hoodie wearing boxer chick. And this is a Brotherhood of Steel Scribe. Like, when I put these side by side, maybe we see it a bit better. Like, the fist is the giveaway. The fist is absolutely the giveaway, the power fist thing. Either way, she has menace. She's a 3/3. When she attacks, you may discard a card. If you do draw a card, and when you discard one or more non-land cards the first time each turn, create a junk token. Do you know what? I'm really glad it makes junk tokens because if you showed me that CMC, that power, that art, I just immediately assume this card is going to make you treasures. There's so many fucking 2-mana and 3-mana creatures that look like this that make you treasures. So, you know what? Props for not going back to that well. That much underexplored well. I just think it's something to do with the art and the direction. Like, I think maybe it's because Bethesda graphics are so fucking bad that everything is lifeless. So the moment a real artist... Oh god, I'm being really harsh to the artists of Bethesda, and I'm sorry here because you made some games I really like, but the moment you give some life to them, they don't even fucking look remotely the same. Junk Jet, yeah, baby. 2 mana, equipment. It's a fucking cannon that hoovers up shit from your inventory and fires it at people. I love this gun. When it enters the battlefield, create a junk token. 3 mana, sacrifice another artifact, so your junk, for example. Double equipped creature's power until end of turn. So it's a 1 mana equip, quite cheap. It has nothing that it does other than ETB make a junk, and then you pay 3 mana to get the doubling. Now, doubling is good. A couple of doublers, and before you know it, you're breaking the entire universe of too many golems. So I can get behind that, but 3 mana is a steep activation cost. But I still think it's going to prove reasonable. It's a sack outlet too, so you can sack like Ica Wellsprings and shit. It's good that you don't have to just sacrifice the junk that you've made. You can sacrifice anything in your inventory to get the power up. It's both thematically on point and quite a cool card, and the art fucking slaps. I love this. Look at this big chunky gun. Let's go. A break from the decks for a second to go back to another reprint that I probably should have talked about earlier in the video, but I've laid everything out incorrectly in my notes. Scrounging Deathclaw, a 2-mana Tarmogoyf. Yep, that's right. That's how far this has fallen. The Tarmogoyf is now being reprinted into Commander products, Commander boosters, shall we say. It is a reskinned Tarmogoyf to be a Scrounging Deathclaw. I think having it being a Deathclaw that's glowing over time as opposed through the harsh environment of the Wasteland kind of makes sense for a Goyf. I quite like it. I will say the border absolutely evokes green-black to me, not mono-green. But to be honest, for the longest time, Tarmogoyf has been either a blue creature or a green-black creature in terms of where it sits and what you do with it. So I'm not even mad. I'm just kind of starstruck. Not starstruck, not the word. I'm flabbergasted that this has happened, that Tarmogoyf has got to this point. But, you know, Magic is an ever-changing and ever-evolving beast. Here's our Bethesda Pip-Boy version of Tarmogoyf, a card that doesn't see any play anymore. God, I'm getting old. Codsworth, handy helper, 3 mana, 2/3. Commanders you control have board 2. You tap it for 2 white, spend this mana only to cast aura and or equipment spells, and attach target aura equipment you control to target creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Oh baby, we are equipping Argentum armors and Colossal hammers if we want to. Yeah, this is a cool card. I think giving your commander ward 2 is incredibly powerful, and I would like them to be a bit more careful about this than a lot of protective cards for your commanders these days. I like them being a bit more vulnerable, but overall, I think this card is dope. He's from Fallout 4, by the way. Samora is hanging out in one of the shops in Megaton, the place you can blow up with a nuke in Fallout 3, and she's trying to write the Wasteland Survival Guide. That's her backstory. And she sends you on missions to go check out weird shit like irradiated like crabs and stuff to try and get information to help her write her survival guide. She's a 2/3 for 3 mana human citizen. When she enters the battlefield, create a colorless equipment of artifact token named Wasteland Survival Guide with equipped creatures +1/+1 for each quest counter among opponents you control, and then you equip it. Whenever you attack, put a quest counter on target non-land opponent you control. So it's building the book and growing it over time. This is a wonderful piece of design that plays into the artifact and equipment theme, but also evokes the idea that you are writing a fucking book together. This card's banging. A reprint here with the Pure Steel Paladin in the iconic, I'm going to say Brotherhood of Steel armor. Someone's going to tell me it's in the Enclave in the comments, but I believe it's Brotherhood of Steel. 2 white, 2/2. When equipment enters the battlefield, you draw a card. And if you have Metalcraft, which is 3 artifacts in play, your equipment's equipped for 0, or they all gain the ability to equip for 0. Quite a cool modern reprint. I think it got a reprint recently in the list. It did. And a secret airdrop, of course, because Ash. For the other day. It's funny because I love the Ash one, even though, well, I say I love the Ash one. I love having Ash on a Magic card. I hate the fact that Ash was legendary. So, but this one's probably my favourite Pure Steel now because it's, whilst it's not Ash, it is a Brotherhood of Steel armor, and that armor is fucking dope. Then we have a memorable NPC, a non-playable companion character from Fallout 4, which is Nick Valentine, the robot private eye. A 3 mana 2/2 synth detective, so now synth is a creature type in Magic for some reason. Nick Valentine's private eye can't be blocked except by artifact creatures, and whenever Nick Valentine or another artifact creature you control dies, you may investigate. I think that's quite a cool outlet for artifact sack nonsense. And then we see him here protecting the player character from a rogue shot in a reprint of Heroic Intervention, which I hope is in the actual precon and not just in the boosters. I just checked. One of the lists is out as of me recording the second half of this video. Yes, it's in the Dogmeat deck. Yeah, solid reprint and a solid piece of art. Open the Vault's another reasonable reprint at 6 mana. Return all artifacts and enchantment cards from all graveyards to the battlefield under their owner's control. This is not just you, it's symmetrical. So careful not to absolutely blow yourself out by returning bad things from the graveyard to the battlefield. Liberty Prime Recharged is a 5 mana 8/8 with Vigilance, Trample and Haste, and whenever it recharged attacks or blocks, sacrifice it unless you pay 2 energy. And 2 mana tap, second artifact, you gain 2 energy and draw a card. So he eats up junk and artifacts and regenerates and generates up some energy, and then you get to go stomping with an 8/8 Vigilant, Trampling, Hasting potential commander as well. It being Liberty Prime, you know, the big manifestation of American willpower during the war, and then it being Jeskai Colors is cute. I do think that's fun. I think it's a cool energy payoff commander. I think overwhelmingly it's just going to tap and blow a thing, sack a thing and draw a card each turn and on occasion go to combat. I don't know. In a world where commanders do too much, this probably does too little, but I think it's a cool design. Nuclear Fallout, some incredible art from Jason Rainville here, absolutely smashing it as usual, seeing some irradiated ghouls serving up heads on a platter. The flavor text says the end of the world occurred as predicted. Too many humans, not enough space or resources to go around. The details are trivial and pointless. The reasons as always purely human ones, which is... yeah, this is making me want to play some Fallout. Anyway, it's an X spell where each creature gets twice -X/-X until end of turn, and each player gets X rad counters. So you irradiate the whole wasteland with a true swath of nuclear fallout. Good wrath. Even playing it for 4, it's going to do some damage. And by 4, I mean X equals 2. We'll kill 4 4s. So I think it's a reasonable X spell, sort of Black Sun Zenith equivalent. Guardian Project reprint, this time with some art showing super mutants coming out in front of the mutant brain, who was like the end boss bad guy from Fallout 1. The Master. They will give me the army I need to bring peace to the entire wasteland. He was just creating super mutants to try and bring about peace. He was doing the right thing, really, until a lone wanderer wandered in and fucked everything up. A Ruinous Ultimatum reprint with the Caesar's Legion on it, which I think is pretty dope. And let's end out on 2 bangers that will probably have a good price tag for a while. Feral Ghoul, 3 mana 2/2. Menace whenever another creature you control dies, put a counter on it. When it dies, each opponent gets a number of red counters equal to its power. In essence, this is already an infinite combo with any sack outlet plus Gravecaller. A sack outlet makes mana, so we're looking at Phyrexian Altar, really. If you use Phyrexian Altar to sack Gravecaller for 1 black mana, goes to the bin, you can recast it because Feral Ghoul is a zombie. You put a counter onto Feral Ghoul, you do this over and over and over, then you sack Feral Ghoul, and everyone gets decked and dies in their upkeep thanks to the radiation counters you put on them. Again, I think Feral Ghouls being zombies actually makes a lot of sense. I only take issue with non-Feral Ghouls being zombies because they aren't really zombie-like. But, you know, how many nitpicks can I get into this video? And we'll finish on Idolized. This is pre-ordering for like $10, and I don't think it's that good. But anyway, a 2 mana aura enchantment. And then the enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks alone, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of non-land permanents you control. Which I think is interesting that it's an aura that gives the creature that, not the aura does the triggering. I don't know why that is, if I'm honest. But either way, it's evoking that idea of the main character being renowned and incredibly powerful, able to get the job done on their own. You are the main character when you're idolized. I'm going to end it there. There's more previews to cover. There's hundreds of cards, but I thought I'd just cover the first batch that sprung to mind and looked interesting. I dropped some from this. I actually ended up not recording as many as I wanted to because this video is going to be really fucking long. Like, too long. If you watched to the end, I really, really appreciate it. Thanks, and let me know in the comment section below if you've got anything wrong or there's anything you wanted to tell me on top of all this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.